Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 4 of the Chasing the Racing podcast. It is Monday, October 28th, 2019, and we're here to talk racing for however long it takes to do so. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Kyle Young. Glad to be here with you once again on, at least here in central New York, a very gorgeous Monday. Here to chit-chat with all of you about things going on in the racing world, what we saw this past weekend, news, updates, racing, drama, anything and everything that we can talk about here for the next little bit of time that we all experienced in the racing world. I hope that all of you guys had a fantastic week. Hope that you were able to take in some type of racing entertainment this past week and enjoy it in some way, shape, or form. Lots that went on, lots to talk about as always. I don't feel like we have as many topics to talk about tonight as we have these last few shows, but the topics that we do have to talk about tonight, I have a lot of things to discuss and go in depth with, I guess. So it should be fun. Should be a good show. I appreciate all of you tuning in, whether you're here live on the stream or watching on YouTube, the post-live version. Either way, hope that you guys are entertained and glad to have you along on the ride. So let's do it. Let's jump right in. We'll start things off with my race chasing weekend. Last week I told you guys I was going to be doing a doubleheader this weekend with the Nittany Showdown Day 1 on Friday at the Port Royal Speedway, and then coming back home for the season finale race at Utica Rome Speedway on Saturday. Financially, I was not able to afford to go to Port Royal, so I did not do anything on Friday. We will talk about the Port Royal race, seeing that it was a World of Outlaws show. Just going to wait and do that later on in this show. But the only thing that I was able to do this weekend was attend that race at Utica Rome Speedway on Saturday afternoon in Vernon, New York. It was their season finale event. They call it the Monster Mash, saying that it is run during the weekend of Halloween. 3 divisions were on the card. They ran the Sportsman. They have a special series name for that that they're running. So let me just pull this up here and try to grab that name. So I have the right terminology to use for that. Their class is sponsored the Brodell Fuel Group Dirt Car Sportsman. But they said it was some like summer shootout series, like the finale of the summer shootout series or what that. Not seeing it here. But anyway, Brodell Fuel Group Sportsman feature. I'm reading right off the thing. Brodell Group Sports. Oh my goodness gracious! Slap me upside the face. The Brodell Fuel Group Sportsman, Ted's Body Shop Pro Stocks, and Bernie's Extreme Performance Parts Rookie Sportsman were on the card. 3 features. The Sportsman and the Pro Stocks ran 50 laps apiece. Rookie Sportsman was a 15-lapper. It was a mid-afternoon show to close off the season on a Saturday afternoon, totally different than what Utica Rome usually runs. They are usually a Sunday night weekly show, but with it, the regular season being wrapped up and with it being a special show, special day, so that is how they decided to wrap up their year. Heat racing events didn't really take much time at all. Those went by very, very nicely. Intermission was way too long. Reason being was that they were having like a little trick-or-treating session in the pits for all the kids. The crowd really was not all that impressive, so there weren't a ton of kids to go into the pits for trick-or-treating, so it took way longer than it should have, but once we did finally get to racing, helped to make things go by a little bit faster. Sportsmen were first up on the card. They had a bit of a rough time running through their feature. I think they had 24 or 25 cars show up, so everybody made the show. No need to run a consolation race. But there was a lot of attrition in this race. It was either guys breaking down and having issues. There were a few solo car crashes, a few small multi-car crashes. So lots of attrition. I think less than 10 cars ended up finishing their race. So not really the best thing that you want to see out of a show. But overall, it presented itself with some decent racing. Track was a little bit rough where we were down. We were sitting down in turn 4. Track had a little bit of character to it. There was a bunch of tiny little ripples in the surface, but it wasn't like any giant potholes or anything. You could really see them when the cars were pacing around the track. Green flag, you didn't really get a big sense of it, but you could definitely tell that it was there during the pacing. But when it was all said and done, the driver that outlasted the field the most, he had to start pretty deep to do it too. He did make the redraw, just didn't redraw very well, but made some passes to get his way up there. It was Chris Mackey to pick up that feature win over Brian Calabrese, Michael Ballestero, Jack Miller, and Pat Jones in 5th. William August was in 6th, Mike Button 7th, James Venditti 8th, Zach Sabatka 9th, and Billy Clark rounding out the top 10 in the Brodell Fuel Group Sportsman Feature event. I believe Pat Jones was the driver that was crowned that summer shootout sportsman champion. Again, I don't have the exact name of that series because it's not showing up here in this article, but that's what they were talking about throughout the day. I think they cleared out their schedule too. Yeah, they do. So I can't go back and see what it's called. So, unless they have it up here in the points, possibly. 2019. No, I don't believe they do. No, they don't. Okay. But, either way, I'm pretty sure Pat Jones was the driver that won that little mini championship for the Sportsman. Pro Stock feature was much better than the Sportsman. They did not have nearly as many cautions, but they didn't have nearly as many cars out there either. Still a solid field. Pretty good race. Really good racing in the top 5. Lots of side-by-side and battling back and forth. Track ended up getting super-duper slick, which just really isn't all that uncommon for a midday show. So it presented the drivers a bit of a tricky surface to deal with. Nothing too out of the ordinary for Utica Rome. It usually gets that way. But it is a little bit different with it being a mid-afternoon show compared to a night show. But in the end of that one, it ended up being Josh Coonrad who picked up the victory. A well-known veteran and very successful veteran in the Pro Stock ranks. Tony Marcoux finished in 2nd. Dean Charbonneau was 3rd. Justin Knight was 4th. And Mike Keselowskis was in 5th. Frank Hyatt 6th. Ed Cottery in 7th. Jim Memorial 8th. Travis Walsh 9th. And David Demarest rounded out the top 10. There were 13 cars that started and competed in the feature. Aaron Page 11th, Shane Henderson 12th, and Matt Larrabee was 13th. So, seeing that there was only a few more to add, why not add them in? So yeah, fairly decent feature for the Pro Stocks. I've always been a really big Pro Stock fan. I think the cars look gorgeous, and usually they put on some really good racing. Josh ran away with the race pretty much I think it was halfway, maybe a third or halfway through the race. He got up into the lead and just dominated the field, ran away with it, didn't really make much of a race out of it. They did have a late race caution that allowed Tony Marcoux to get right up on the back bumper, and he kind of stayed with Josh for a few laps, made a mistake in turns 1 and 2, got a little bit too high on the racetrack and kind of dipped over the edge of the racetrack, lost a bunch of time, and at that point it was game over. So Coonrad picks up another victory, very successful race for him, as he usually is with these Pro Stock class. So a solid performance out of Josh Coonrad. And then he had the Rookie Sportsman feature to cap off the day with a 15-lapper. That one was won by Travis Whitbeck. Carter Gibbons finished in 2nd. Ron Deldees 3rd. Ernie Stalins 4th. Steve Cottery in 5th. And Andrew Stadelman rounding out the field in 6th. Small numbers for Rookie Sportsman, as it usually is for Utica Rome. Unfortunately, Stadelman was light on the scale, so he originally finished in third, light on the scale, so he was disqualified. He actually had to go to a backup car. He is the son of the car owner that, I am sorry for that, he is the son of the car owner that my landlord races for in the sportsman division. They had issues during their feature. My landlord did compete in the sportsman race. Ended up losing a cylinder, I think they said. So they were unable to finish the sportsman feature, and he was unable to drive that car for the rookie sportsman feature race. So they were able to borrow a ride from fellow sportsman competitor Brian Calabrese. Brian ended up finishing second in the big sportsman race, so things were, the guys felt pretty confident, I'm sure, jumping into that ride, but unfortunately they were late, so didn't make the necessary changes between the two races and failed weight, so that's a bummer for Andrew. But overall, the show was good. It was a little lengthy, which was a little bit annoying to deal with, but for a Saturday afternoon season finale for Utica Rome, good to be there and get one last race in, and cap off the 2019 season at one of my home tracks. So now all three of my weekly home tracks are done for the year, which sucks. I don't like that. I don't like thinking about that, but unfortunately we're at that time of the year. It is what it is, and we'll have to move on. So speaking of moving on, we will do just that. Big weekend of racing this past weekend in Middletown, New York. The Orange County Fair Speedway holding their annual Eastern States 200 weekend. 4 days of racing, action-packed with a bunch of different divisions, bunch of different cars, and big event. It's usually their biggest event of the year. You could still maybe call it that, but this year they did have a special centennial race to celebrate 100 years of racing in August. Everything kicked off that weekend's show on Thursday with the Short Track Super Series event. There was also a 360 sprint car race that partnered with that for the opening night on Thursday. Short Track Super Series, fueled by Sunoco, modified Hallmark International North Region, was the season finale for the Hallmark International North Region. The South Region wraps up this weekend at Georgetown Speedway in Georgetown, Delaware. 50-lap feature for that season finale, championship on the line. Matt Shepard was the points leader heading in. Andy Becchetti had a shot to win the championship as well. The winner of that 50-lap feature was NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series driver Stuart Friesen. He started off a very, very good weekend with that victory. Anthony Perego finished in position number 2. Andy Becchetti was 3rd. Matt Shepard 4th. Billy Decker in 5th. Jimmy Horton was 6th. Matt Williamson 7th. Billy Pouch Jr. 8th. Mike Gula 9th. And Eric Rudolph rounding out the top 10. Larry White ended up getting disqualified in that race. I believe he originally finished in 2nd place. He was too light, so Larry was disqualified, bumped everybody up. As I mentioned, Matt Shepard finished in 4th. So he was able to clinch the championship for the North Region, and by doing so, he's going to end up taking all 3 championships with the Short Track Super Series. He already has the South Region title locked up, so there will be no championship fight heading into this weekend's race at Georgetown. Won the North Region Championship this past Thursday, and he picked up the American Racer Cup championship earlier on in the year. So that will be a $57,500 championship purse going to him for all 3 of those series, minus everything else that he's already won this year. So safe to say that Matt Shepard has made out good once again in 2019, as he still has another championship to go. The Super Dirt Car Series wraps things up next weekend at the World Finals. So he's got a shot at that. So it's crazy how successful he is and how much money he makes. But if there's credit that needs to be given, then I'll give him that credit because he's damn good at what he does. The 360 Sprint Cars also competed, as I mentioned. Their event, the Rapid Tire 25. 25 laps. That one was won by Jordan Thomas. Billy Van Ingwegen was second. Lucas Wolf in third. Davey Frenick fourth. And Justin Barker rounding out the top five, with Joe Cotto the third and sixth. Mike Walters seventh. Eric Jennings eighth. Matt Tanner ninth. And William Glover rounding out the top 10 finishers in the 360 Sprint Car event at OCFS on Thursday night. I did not attend this event, so I'm not entirely sure how the whole schedule went for the entire weekend. So I do apologize if I miss anything. All I know are the main races for each day. Those were Thursday's events. Friday you had the Sportsman feature. Saturday was small blocks, and yesterday was the big block race. For that Sportsman feature event, they ran a 50-lapper for Eastern States weekend. All of the races slowly increase in length as you move through the weekend. That Sportsman feature was won by Kevin Root, the Dirt Car Sportsman Series champion for 2019. He also picked up the Brewerton Speedway Track Championship this year. It was his first victory at the Orange County Fair Speedway. He won it by defeating Grant Hilfiger in second, Andrew Buff third, Tyler Corcoran fourth, and Jared LeBeau in fifth. Pat Murphy in sixth, Cole Stengel 7th, Matt Schultz 8th, Jesse Leby 9th, and Jordan Lawrence rounded out the top 10. 30 cars took the green flag for that feature event, and I believe that was it was a $5,000 victory. He led every single lap from the outside pole starting position and scored the win. So congratulations to Kevin Root, continuing on with a very successful 2019 with a Sportsman win during Eastern States weekend. Saturday, as mentioned, was the small block modified race. They ran for 100 laps, $15,000 to win. And to not very many people's surprises, the successful small block modified season continued for Matt Williamson as he scored the victory Saturday night at the Orange County Fair Speedway. Matt Shepard finished in second. Brett Hearn was third. Tim McCready finally getting out here to run some modifieds. I'm pretty sure this was his first modified race all year long. Tim McCready finished in fourth. Billy Decker with a fifth place finish. Then Michael Maresca in sixth. Eric Rudolph seventh. Larry White eighth. Anthony Prego ninth. And Ronnie Johnson rounding out the top 10 in the field. 37 cars took the green flag for that one. As mentioned, it was a $15,000 victory, and it was also Matt Williamson's 100th career feature victory as well. So a great accomplishment for Matt Williamson. He has had a great season. A great season at OCFS as well. He was the winner of that Centennial race that paid $100,000 to win in August. So just picking up right where he left off at OCFS with another win. Last night's race, the big Eastern States 200 feature event, they ended up getting delayed quite a bit by rain. Weather was not good throughout most of the day yesterday, but they waited to get whatever opening that they could. They found an opening, and they were able to get the race in its entirety. 200 laps, $40,000 to win for the 58th annual Eastern States 200. And after picking up a victory on Thursday at OCFS in the Short Track Super Series race, he finished in 6th place in the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series race at Martinsville. Came all the way back up here yesterday to compete in the 200, and he started in dead last. He started 44th on the field, worked his way all the way through the field, took the lead on lap 129 from my man Billy Decker, never looked back. Stuart Friesen with his second consecutive Eastern States 200 victory, his third career win in that race overall. Got it done. Extremely impressive to go from dead last all the way to the front in 129 laps. It was a 200-lap race, so he still had plenty of time and led the remaining race from that point on. Matt Shepard with another second-place finish. Billy Decker was third. Danny Johnson finished in fourth, and Larry White was the fifth-place finisher. Jimmy Phelps in the new Bicknell chassis got himself a sixth-place finish. Tim Fuller was seventh. Tim McCready eighth. Billy Dunn in ninth. And the small block winner from Saturday, Matt Williamson, finished in 10th. As mentioned, 44 cars took the green flag. It was a $40,000 win, and it went to Stuart Friesen. Another one of the absolutely phenomenal modified drivers here in the Northeast, finding success in in the NASCAR Gator Outdoors Truck Series, which we will talk about here in just a few minutes. Just nothing out of the ordinary for Stewart Friesen. A great weekend for him overall and everything that he touched in the racing world. And he will be heading south to Georgetown this upcoming weekend as well, as the Truck Series has their final off week before the end of the season. So he'll go down to Delaware to play with some more modifieds at the Georgetown Speedway. We will make our transition over to the NASCAR world, seeing that we've just briefly dabbled in it a little bit there with Stewart. You had the NASCAR Gator Outdoors Truck Series and the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series competing at the Martinsville Speedway this week. Also racing this past weekend in the NASCAR world was the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West. They ran at the Kern County Raceway Park in Bakersfield, California. This being the penultimate event of their season. So getting down to the end of the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West, as the E-Series has already finished up, but the West lasts a little bit longer. It was a phenomenally dominated event by Derek Kraus. He had a perfect event. He was fastest in practice, won the pole, led every single lap of the race, and scored the victory. It was a 155-lap race. He led them all. Well, actually, it was supposed to be 150, but I'm assuming that there was a green and white checkered. It says down here in the bottom of the results, race extended to 150 laps due to, and it doesn't say anything after that, so that's pretty funny. I'm going to assume that it was for a green white checkered. So Derek Kraus picks up the victory there. Jagger Jones finished in second, Haley Deegan third, Brittany Zamora fourth, Todd Souza rounded out the top five, Travis Milburn sixth, Dylan Garner seventh, Trevor Huddleston eighth, Brad Cassau in ninth, and Zach Telford rounding out the top 10. Takuma Koga, Taylor Canfield, and Jack Wood rounding out the 13-car field. Jack Wood was the only driver to fail to finish the event. He had an electrical issue 13 laps in. Race saw 6 cautions for 26 laps. Kraus won the race by .670 seconds over second place finisher Jagger Jones. Took him an hour and 4 minutes and 6 seconds to complete. And as mentioned, there were 0 lead changes because Derek Kraus led the entire show. Heading into the final race of the season, with the perfect weekend at Kern County, Derek Kraus now has a 47-point lead over Jagger Jones in the standings. All that Kraus has to do is take the green flag, and he will win the championship at ISM Raceway next weekend. Haley Deegan is third in the points, 51 points back. She has a 1-point advantage over Trevor Huddleston, who is 52 points back in fourth, and Brittany Zamora rounding out the top 5 right now, 98 points back in fifth. Todd Souza 1 point behind her in sixth. Travis Milburn is seventh. Takuma Koga is eighth. John Wood ninth, and Matt Levin rounding out the top 10 in the points, heading into the season finale at the ISM Raceway in Avondale, Arizona next weekend. Going to the Truck Series event on Saturday at the paperclip known as Martinsville Speedway. It was the middle race of the round of 6 for the Truck Series playoffs. I did not get to check this race out, but I stayed up to date with it the best that I could. There's a pretty big wreck in the middle of it that took out some championship contenders. So that obviously had a major impact in the point structure. Drivers involved in that were Tyler Ankarum, Austin Hill, Grant Enfinger got turned around in it. Although he's already eliminated. Pretty big shakeup to have a wreck like that happen and take out as many drivers as it did that are involved in the championship picture. Came down to some late race restarts, and it ended up, to my surprise, it ended up being Todd Gilliland who picked up the victory in the NASCAR Hall of Fame 200, his very first career NASCAR Gator Outdoors Truck Series victory. He did it by defeating Ross Chastain in second, Johnny Sauter third, Grant Enfinger in fourth, and Timmy Hill with a fantastic fifth place finish. Stewart Friesen finished in sixth, John Hunter Nemechek seventh, Danny Bone in eighth, Jeb Burton ninth, and Cody Robaugh rounding up the top 10 in the event. A little bit of controversy in this race with this being Todd's first victory. He came over the radio in extreme excitement, obviously, but he took a little backlash out on his team owner Kyle Busch by saying, quote, "Kyle Busch, you can stay in your fucking motorhome," unquote. Kyle Busch has been pretty critical of his two drivers this year with them not going to victory lane. They have not made the playoffs this year, and this was the first win for KBM that did not come from Kyle Busch winning. Kyle has been critical in interviews in the past about the two drivers, and Todd Gilliland took this as an opportunity to kind of jab back at team owner Kyle. I'm not really a big fan of Todd Gilliland. I think he has raced poorly with some of his teammates I've seen in the past. I think there's a lot of negativity that surrounds him and his father that just is extremely unappealing to me, and I haven't had any issues watching him struggle. Unfortunately, now he has shoved that one in my face with his first victory. It's very clear that there's a lot of drama and a lot of uncomfortability between him and KBM. It does not seem like that there is going to be a renewal between the two of them for 2020. I was listening to Dave Moody's show on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio today, and it kind of sounds like there's already expectations and rumors flying around that he's going to come home and race for Dad's team, DGR Crosley, next year, which really doesn't surprise me the least bit. And that's kind of why he probably said what he did. He's got a safety net with having a father as a team owner in the series that he's racing at. Kyle has not been happy with his performance. Obviously, he hasn't been either because he hasn't been winning. But when your dad owns trucks and it looks like you're going to be out of a ride, yeah, you can probably get away with saying whatever you feel like saying. So he lashed out on that over the radio as soon as he crossed the finish line. Of course, it didn't happen. Kyle ended up coming into victory lane and giving him a handshake and congratulating him. I look at it as a pretty distasteful thing to do to somebody who is supplying you with a racing career, but I guess that's how it goes. So we'll have to keep paying attention to things over the next few days and weeks and wait for that announcement that I'm sure we're going to get. With that being said, that'll leave two openings open at KBM for next year. Obviously, this isn't confirmed or anything. It's just what's expected to happen. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens with those two KBM trucks for 2020. KBM is an extremely successful team in the trucks. They've won races and championships with drivers in the past. So it's safe to assume that whoever will fill those voids are going to be extremely talented drivers. Like I said last week, I think my prediction for one of them is going to be Christian Eckes. He reigned with the team this past weekend in Martinsville. Ended up getting, let's see, he ended up finishing in 17th place after winning the pole. He might have been part of that issue or part of that big crash. I'm not entirely sure. But he did finish in position 17 out of 32 trucks. Not the greatest showing, but he did win the pole. So that is something to at least mention. And had a solid weekend. He was fastest in the second practice. And let's see, he was 19th in final practice, so a little bit of a downturn there. But yeah, I fully expect Christian Eckes to be a full-time driver next year for Kyle, but we'll have to wait and see for all those other announcements to come out on the Ford truck, and see what happens there. The main event on the weekend in Martinsville was the first day at 500 for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, and it was a pretty similar story to what we had in the spring at Martinsville. It's just the driver was different. A ridiculously dominating day by Martin Truex Jr. He led over 460 of the 500 laps to pick up the win. He started in third place, swept the day, won both stages, got to victory lane, led the most laps, just absolutely spanked him yesterday at the paperclip. So he is the first driver to qualify himself for the Championship 4. And as soon as I say that, let me go back real quick and let me read you what the point standings look like for the Truck Series heading into the cutoff race at ISM Raceway on November 8th. Pulling this up really quickly, you have Brett Moffitt up at the top of the point standings. He has a 45-point cushion over the cut. Stuart Friesen is in second with a 35-point cushion over the cut. Ross Chastain is now qualified in third place, 20 points above. He had a great day at Martinsville on Saturday, but was not able to cap it off with a win. And Austin Hill is the fourth and final driver in, 9 points above. Matt Crafton first, one below, and fifth, 9 points below. And Tyler Ankrum is in sixth, 15 points below. Honestly, I kind of want to see that top four stay the same. I think those four drivers have been the most dominant four of the year. They've won the majority of the races. I believe they account for 11 wins on the season. Let's see, 4, 5, 8, and yes, they've won 11 of the 21 races that have been contested this season. So I think that those are the best four drivers in the series right now, and I would not have any issues with that Championship 4 staying the same after ISM. Things are looking really good for Brett and Stewart. Ross Chastain has a really nice cushion, nothing to get extremely comfortable with. 20 points can very easily be lost, but for the most part, looking pretty good. And Austin Hill with only 9 points, he definitely has to be careful at Phoenix. So now we'll go back to the Cup Series, since I have mentioned that. It was, in fact, Martin Truex Jr. that had the dominant day, scored the victory. William Byron had a really awesome second-place finish yesterday. Looked really good. I was able to catch bits and pieces of the race, most of the later portions of it, and he looked really good. He started in 11th, ended up finishing in second, had a very strong number 24 car, just nobody was really able to do anything with Martin Truex Jr. yesterday. He spanked him. Honestly, he ended up spanking them worse than what Brad spanked them in the spring. I think Brad led like 440-something laps, and Truex led 460. So very uncharacteristic to see stuff like that at Martinsville. You usually get a lot of battles throughout the entire field, which we did yesterday, but usually the lead is included in that. It wasn't the case yesterday as Truex spanked him. Byron was second. Brad Keselowski finished in third. Denny Hamlin with a dramatic day finished in fourth. Ryan Blaney rounding out the top five with Kurt Busch in sixth. Kevin Harvick seventh. Joey Logano eighth. Kyle Larson in ninth. And Ryan Newman rounding out your top 10 finishers. A couple instances of drama from this race. The first one happening in the early portions of the third stage. Kyle Busch and Eric Almirola got together coming off of turn 4. The two of them both crashed. Kyle Busch didn't really suffer too much damage, if any at all, but Eric Almirola spun out and got plowed into by Jimmy Johnson, and that took out his day. Eric was not happy at all with the situation and has vowed to make these final 3 weeks hell for Kyle Busch. Eric usually isn't the type of guy that is known for being dramatic and violent and aggressive behind the wheel. So we'll have to see if he makes true to those threats. He is no longer in the playoffs. He was eliminated after the first round. So he doesn't really have too much to lose. Kyle Busch still does. He is not locked in to the Championship 4 yet. He is above the cut. So he is qualified at the moment, but he's not locked in, so things could very well change between now and then. So making enemies at this point in the season, especially when you're trying to race for a championship, is not a good thing to do. So it'll be fun to see how that story plays out. I don't really think that Texas is a good place to take out aggression on another driver, with it being a fast mile-and-a-half racetrack. Phoenix is a pretty good place for that, slower 1-mile racetrack. So I would hope that intelligence would take over and nothing really horrible happens at Texas this upcoming weekend. But you can't really say the same for Phoenix. Phoenix is basically a glorified short track. Just about everybody in the NASCAR world looks at Phoenix as a short track. So it'll be fun to follow that one, as we also follow up the drama that happened between Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin. The two of them are racing very hard with each other late in the going. Denny Hamlin pushed up coming off of turn 4 while Joey was on his outside, stuffed Joey into the wall, and then a couple laps later, Joey ends up cutting a tire and spinning out. Joey had a phenomenal car yesterday. He ended up coming back and finishing in 8th place despite all that. But obviously, getting put into the wall and having to work your way back through the field late in the going is not what you want to have happen. And he probably would have had a better finish had that not happened. The two of them ended up speaking to each other at the end of the race on pit road. Joey kind of gave Denny a little shoulder slap as he was walking away. Denny did not take that too kindly at all, went after him, and you had your typical big NASCAR mosh pit brawl breakout. Somehow I was completely clueless and allowed myself to skip over the fact that Tyler Reddick and Cole Custer had an issue last week in Kansas. Didn't talk about that on the show. Obviously, I knew about it and read and heard and saw it all, but I made no mention about it on the show. Somehow I let that slip my mind. So I'm kind of glad in a way that this happened, because now I can kind of connect the two incidents together and make sense or make a dual judgment on it all. I have never been a fan of NASCAR pit fights. Every single time that it happens, it ends up becoming a stupid, ridiculous mosh pit brawl between the crews when they don't really have too much to do with it. Now, yes, I understand that they put the hard work in to working on the cars and fixing them and all of that. But yesterday's ordeal, and really you can go back to the one in the Xfinity race last week, is a prime example of the issues that I have with this. Last night, there was a Team Penske crew member who grabbed Denny Hamlin by the back of his fire suit and ripped him down to the ground. And then if you rewind to Kansas, there was a Stewart-Haas Racing team member who had Tyler Reddick in a chokehold / headlock from behind during their ordeal at Kansas. That is absolutely 100% ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. These two instances have shown that these crew fights very quickly turn into people who have absolutely no involvement in the issue going after people to hurt them instead of trying to protect the people that they are with. So the Team Penske crew member is, instead of trying to protect Joey Logano, he's just out trying to inflict damage on Denny Hamlin by ripping him to the ground, which, might I add, he was nowhere near Joey Logano at the time of that happening. And the same thing with the SHR crew member putting Tyler Reddick in a chokehold headlock from behind. I also want to make mention that after Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin were split up, the last people to get separated were two crew members that rolling around on the ground, one Joe Gibbs, one Team Penske guy. The drivers are done fighting, they're completely away from the scenario, and we're still having to break up crew members who had absolutely no issues with each other and would not be fighting had the two of them not gotten together because Denny and Joey did. Absolutely ridiculous. The right decision was made earlier today. The crew member that yanked down Denny Hamlin was suspended for the upcoming race next weekend at Texas Motor Speedway. I fully support that decision. I'm sick and tired of watching these crew mosh pits. The issue happened on track with the drivers. Let the drivers settle their own issues. The crew members are not the ones that are putting each other in the wall and causing problems. It's the drivers. Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin had an on-track altercation. Why do the crews need to get involved and create a massive brawl over this ridiculous situation? It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I cannot stand seeing this crap any longer. And I hope that this crew member suspension wakes people up a little bit, and maybe we can have some different changes to this whole repertoire as well. Because it's it's ridiculous in my mind. It's absolutely ridiculous that these two crews, the crews are going at it harder than what the drivers are. You think about a few other instances in the past. Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski on pit road. That became a crew brawl between Hendrick and Penske. Kyle Busch and Joey Logano at Las Vegas a couple years ago. Basically became a crew brawl. Kyle Busch tried to go over and fight Joey Logano, and as soon as he did, everybody swarms in, and it's Joey Logano's crew that's ended up inflicting more damage on Kyle than Joey is. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I would much rather see guys fight it out on track, but then you had the stupid crap that happened with Spencer Gallagher and John West Townley a few years ago at Gateway. I don't think everybody would fight like that, but those two did. So I'm glad that the suspension and the punishment was made. I do hope that NASCAR makes some type of rule changes to stop these pit crews from getting involved in these fights. Maybe we just need to have more fights happen on the racetrack instead of in the pits. But we'll have to see what happens. And it'll be fun to see how that feud goes moving forward. The two of them do still have a playoff life to fight for and a championship to fight for. So retaliation and issues probably aren't really what they should be focusing on. But we'll see how that one all plays out. And it's also worth noting that Denny Hamlin's impersonation of Joey Logano was freaking hilarious. Taking a look at the point standings after yesterday's race, obviously with the win, Martin Truex Jr. is locked into the championship 4. Denny Hamlin is second in points. He has a 24-point cushion over the field. Kyle Busch is third, only ended up losing a single point. He is 17 points to the good, and Joey Logano is fourth, 14 points to the good. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you got Kevin Harvick in 5th, minus 14 points. Ryan Blaney is 6th, minus 15. Kyle Larson is 7th, minus 24. And Chase Elliott is in 8th, minus 44 points out. Chase had an absolutely horrible weekend, and I loved it. Blew a motor in practice, broke a rear axle during the race yesterday, lost 52 laps when he first returned to the racetrack, and ended up suffering from a 36th place finish. The only two guys that he was able to pass were Eric Almirola and Jimmy Johnson due to their crash in the third stage. So Chase has got some work to do. Obviously, he has plenty of time to do it. 2 races to do so. He has victories at Texas in the Xfinity Series, and he has shown to run very well at Phoenix as well. So it's absolutely possible. I hope it doesn't happen, but it's possible. So we'll have to see how that all works out over these next couple weeks. As mentioned, Texas Motor Speedway upcoming for this weekend. It will be a doubleheader with the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series. Doubleheader with the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. After this week, all 3 series will be together for the final 2 races to close out the season. So that's about everything from the weekend of racing at Martinsville Speedway. Lots of NASCAR news to cover. First thing to mention that I would like to mention is we had a replacement driver compete yesterday at the Martinsville Speedway. Matt Crafton came in and ran the number 36 Ford Mustang for Front Row Motorsports in replacement of Matt Tifft. Matt Tifft had some type of medical issue this past weekend at Martinsville and was unable to compete. He was brought to the hospital on, I believe it was Friday. He had some type of medical condition, or was it Saturday? And actually, no, I think it was Saturday because they didn't end up having any on-track activity for the Cup Series on Friday. But either way, Tifft had some type of medical issue, ended up going home afterwards. He was brought to the hospital. He was released from the hospital. Really, there's really no official word on what happened. All that we really know is that it was some type of medical condition. he is okay. He was able to be released from the hospital and spent the rest of the weekend at home. The team's statement was, quote, this morning, so when it happened on Saturday, Matt Tifft was transported to a local hospital in Martinsville, Virginia for further evaluation and tests after suffering a medical condition at the track. Tifft was evaluated and released from the hospital and is returning home. Further updates will be sent when appropriate. The last thing that Matt Tifft said on his Twitter, there we go. He says, quote, hey everybody, just wanted to give a quick update. Still learning more of what exactly happened, but as some of you saw/heard, I had to be taken to the hospital this morning. I am resting at home now and have follow-up soon to get back to full health and back in the car soon. So that's obviously good to hear. Hopefully he will be able to be cleared and will return this upcoming weekend in Texas. Matt Crafton took over his place in that machine, and he scored a 25th place finish for Front Row Motorsports. So obviously wishing the best for Matt Tifft. We hope that he will recover soon and will be able to get back into the race car as soon as possible. Some very interesting news was starting to surface this past week about a possible new team to compete in NASCAR. Did I lose the article? I may have. All right, let me pull it back up. But either way, news surfacing this week that Floyd Mayweather may have interest in joining NASCAR in some way, shape, or form. We really don't have a lot of details about it. There was just a photo of a mock-up paint scheme that was posted around, and some information leading to that. But it was brought up on Dave Moody's show this past week, and it's really unclear whether it is going to be like just a sponsorship ordeal, if it's going to be Floyd Mayweather owning his own race team, if he's going to be a co-owner in a race team. Really not a lot of details. This I will read you from... Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. This I will read you coming from the Motor Racing Media 24/7 Facebook page when they made their post about it a few days ago. They said in their post, Floyd Mayweather became boxing's first $1 billion fighter, and it's looking like he wants to spend some of that money in NASCAR. Earlier today, a website of TMT Racing, which stands for the Money Team, his brand, was up and had very little info on the team other than TMT Racing will be debuting at Homestead for the final Cup race of the year. Once word spread this afternoon of TMT Racing, the info on the website was taken down, but left with the words, more info coming soon. MRM 24/7 was able to find out that, in fact, Floyd Mayweather Jr. is looking to come into NASCAR and possibly as a co-owner. I'll keep you updated on this as more info becomes available. So, lots of possibilities with this. A very surprising news piece after that we got during the week. In my opinion, I don't really think it matters in what capacity he decides to come into the sport. It would just be good to see somebody new come into the sport. Whether it's an ownership role, a sponsorship role, either way, you can never have enough of those in NASCAR. Money drives this sport, and if there's truth to these rumors, I hope that that's the case. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that think that Floyd has no reason being in NASCAR because what does he know about racing and what does he know about NASCAR? I don't really think that matters. If somebody's interested in wanting to come into this sport, I think we need to do whatever we can to get them to come in. That's why a lot of these changes are being made to help lower the cost of competition, to try to make this sport more appealing to owners and manufacturers and whoever else that we can reach out to. So this will definitely be a unique story to follow. we only have a few weeks to get more information because the rumors are saying that this team is going to debut at Homestead. Homestead is in 2.5 weeks, so we'll see what happens, but in whatever form it may be, I hope it's true. Because more money in the sport, more people in the sport only means good things. Just like this next piece of information that I will share with you. Hendrick Motorsports was able to announce this past week that they have extended their partnership with Hertz for their number 24 team that William Byron competes for. Hertz is one of the world's largest vehicle rental companies, and they have extended their sponsorship with Hendrick Motorsports and their number 24 team. It is a 2-year agreement that runs through 2021. They will continue as a primary sponsor of William Byron's number 24 team in 4 points-paying Cup Series races annually and as a full-season associate-level partner. The 4 races that they will be sponsoring William Byron in as a primary sponsor will be at Auto Club Speedway and ISM Raceway in March, and the October playoff races at Talladega Speedway, Super Speedway and Kansas Speedway. So very good news coming out of the Hendrick Motorsports camp last week, saying that Hertz is extending their sponsorship with the team and with William Byron. Nothing but good news there. It's impossible to come up with anything bad out of that. It's great. Very glad to hear about that last week, and I hope as time passes and we continue to get closer to the end of the season and the beginning of the new season that we continue to hear more sponsorship announcements like this, because sponsorship drives our business forward, and we need as much as we can get. Interesting news coming out of the Dover International Speedway this past week that I'm sure is going to have a lot of people throwing things in the air and going ballistic. But Dover International Speedway is reducing the seating capacity at their racetrack. They are going to be taking out 29,000 seats, which will reduce the seating capacity from 83,000 to 54,000 people. Anytime you get news like this, people immediately start shouting things about the sport dying, ticket prices being too expensive, yada yada this, yada yada that. Look, we all know that there are not nearly as many people going to these races as there used to be, and now it's becoming expensive for racetracks to open up all of these areas and pay to open up all these areas for nobody to use them. Back in the spring, people flipped shit over the fact that Bristol shut down the turns for the spring race and didn't sell any tickets there, so you had completely empty turns at Bristol. Bristol seats 160,000 people, still had a large number of people show up, but people were flipping shit because it wasn't like the late 90s and the early 2000s where it was just a sea of people all the way around the racetrack. Times are changing. Obviously, people aren't showing up like they used to be. That doesn't mean that the sport is dying or is in trouble. It's just a new way of life. It's not NASCAR that's the only thing that's struggling. If you look at grandstands and all other sports, attendance is failing elsewhere. It's not just a NASCAR problem. It's kind of a societal thing. In my personal opinion, I don't think NASCAR tickets are too expensive. I go to a handful of races a year. I will continue to go to a handful of races a year. And honestly, I'm kind of hoping that I can up the amount of races that I go to starting next year. So, sure, yeah, I guess it kind of stinks. But if you're not getting enough people to fill an 83,000 seat crowd, why provide 83,000 seats? I'm sure they can probably save some money by taking those seats out and shutting down the amenities and everything that goes on over in that portion of the venue. So I don't freak out about news like this, but obviously other people do. You're more than welcome to do whatever you please with that, but thought that it was worth sharing that Dover International Speedway is reducing their seating capacity at their racetrack. Some news, other news in the NASCAR world that was brought down today is that there will be a personnel change with the number 3 team at Richard Childress Racing. Danny Stockman will step down as the crew chief for Austin Dillon at the end of 2019, and Justin Alexander will take his place in 2020. Danny Stockman has had a very successful career with Richard Childress Racing. It was his first full season this year as a crew chief at the Cup level. He had 2 one-off races with Austin Dillon in 2011 and 2018 and served as a crew chief for Paul Menard for 12 races in 2016. The pairing of Stockman and Dillon had previously reached highs in the NASCAR Gainer Outdoors Truck Series with a 2011 championship and the NASCAR Xfinity Series with a title in 2013. So, obviously, a long history between the two of them. That article, that was a part of an article being read directly from NASCAR.com. A little surprising because I figured that relationship was as strong as ever. But for whatever reason, that is going to change. Justin Alexander will be the crew chief for Austin moving forward. He was the crew chief in the 2017-2018 seasons for Austin Dillon. He was the crew chief for his 2 Premier Series wins, which were the 2017 Coca-Cola 600 and last year's Daytona 500. This season, Justin Alexander has been the crew chief for the organization's part-time Xfinity Series car, which is the 21 car that has been driven by Kaz Grala and Joe Graf Jr. in select races. So, a new crew chief on top of the pit box for Austin Dillon in 2020, which has just been the crew chief he had the 2 previous seasons to this one. So, new crew chief, not really new crew chief, just a change. So, I guess we'll see what that does for Austin moving forward. Sticking with NASCAR news, but going to NASCAR across the pond, the NASCAR Euro Series schedule was announced this past week. The NASCAR Whelen Euro Series is a series that competes over in Europe, hence the Euro in the name. They have 13 different events, 13 different rounds. Looks like the majority of them are double header races. Yeah, does look like that. Where's the... Oh, okay, there's one that has a double round 7 is what it says. Okay, so there's the confusion in that. The series will kick off next year on April 25th in Spain, racing at the circuit in Valencia, April 25th and 26th. Then they go to Brands Hatch in the UK on June 6th and June 7th. June 20th and 21st, they race in the Czech Republic. July 11th and July 12th, they race in the Netherlands at the Venray Oval. I'm trying to give as much information as I can with this. I don't really know much about most of these tracks, so I'm trying not to just pronounce a name that is totally wrong. After the race in the Netherlands on July 11th and 12th, their playoff starts with double points. They will have 6 races, 3 events, starting September 12th and 13th in Italy at Vallelunga, October 3rd and 4th at Circuit Zolder in Belgium, and then the season championship will be crowned October 17th and 18th at Hockenheim in Germany. So, if you are a NASCAR Whelen Euro Series fan, you now have the season schedule for 2020. Those race cars, I think, are badass-looking race cars. I never really followed the Whelen Euro Series. It's something that I probably should because it seems like it's really cool, but I don't. So maybe I'll remember to try to do that in 2020. But seeing that is part of the NASCAR world, figured we'd share some of that information as well. Some really cool news coming out of my region of the country. One of our local racetracks here in New York State, the Genesee Speedway in Batavia, New York, they will be getting a World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series race next year. They will come into town June 19th, 2020, which is super cool. It is their first ever event at the Genesee Speedway. I don't really know yet exactly what my plans for racing is going to be next year. I'm kind of hoping to get my own race car again, but if not, or if something ever happens to my original plans, I can guarantee you that I will be going to Genesee for that race. Genesee is a tiny little racetrack out in Batavia, New York, which is kind of like in the western portion of the state. It is where my Enduro car was junked up in May, and why I have not raced since. Well, I ran one race, but not in my own car. But haven't raced since then in my own vehicle. Really cool little racetrack. They get good car counts. I think it'll be a really good event, a good place to bring them. It's not too terribly far away from Pennsylvania in that area, and Western Pennsylvania has a fairly decent super late model community. So I like to think that some Pennsylvania guys will come up for that. Usually New York World of Outlaws races kind of slack on the car counts because this just really isn't all that great of a place for super late models. But it's a new venue to the World of Outlaws. They've never been there. So I'm excited to see what that does. And if it's possible for me to go, I will absolutely be at that event. The sprint car portion of the World of Outlaws competed this past weekend, as previously mentioned, at the Port Royal Speedway. It was supposed to be a 2-day show, ended up being a 1-day show because the Saturday portion was rained out and will not be made up. I was hoping to go on Friday, wasn't able to do so, but they still competed that race. It was 30 lapper, $8,000 to win, and that victory went to Donnie Schatz. Pennsylvania posse driver Anthony Macri was in second, Brian Brown third, Logan Schuhart fourth, Aaron Reitzel fifth, Darren Pittman sixth, Ian Madsen seventh, Giovanni Selzy eighth, David Gravel ninth, and Brent Marks rounding out the top 10 finishers from the Friday portion of the Nittany Showdown. KSC Hard Charger Award went to Brent Marks, who started in position number 19, he started in, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. I read 19th as his car number, or I read it as his starting spot when it's his car number. I'm smart. Brent Marks moved up 13 spots from his 23rd place starting spot to finish in 10th. As mentioned, supposed to be a 2-day show, was shortened down to 1 day due to weather. They tried to bump the schedule up during the day. They were able to get cars out on the track at some point during the day, but they just weren't able to put the whole show together. So the Saturday portion of the Nittany Showdown was rained out and will not be made up. Series point standings now heading into the World Finals, which is now the final event for all of the major dirt car series, both World of Outlaws late models and sprint cars, as well as the Super Dirt Car Series. They will compete at the World Finals next weekend to wrap up their seasons. I'm trying to pull the point standings up here to give you guys a rundown as to how those are looking, but it wants to fight with me. And, all right, there we go. I see it now. The point gap has shrunk dramatically. Brad Sweet leads Donnie Schatz by just 8 points heading into next weekend's World of Outlaws World Finals. So that'll be fun. It'll be fun to see a championship battle in the sprints. I'm hoping Brad Sweet pulls it out. It'd be cool to see somebody other than Donnie Schatz win, and it'll be nice to witness that in person. The only championship that will not be decided down there is the Late Model Championship. It was announced shortly after we completed our show last week that Brennan Shepard has clinched the championship. He will go into the World Finals with a 320-point advantage over Chase Younghans. Those guys still have something to race for, though. Second through fifth, pretty tight in points. They're only separated by 32 points. Chase Younghans Young Ans is in second. He's 8 points ahead of Darrell Lanigan in third. Lanigan is only 8 points ahead of Shane Clanton in fourth. And Clanton is 16 points ahead of Ricky Weiss in fifth. So those guys will have a nice, fun championship battle to figure out those spots. But the championship has already been decided as the Rocket Ship, Brandon Shepard, picking up another championship with the World of Outlaws. Moving on. Some track-related news. We had a couple notes come in about racetrack specifically. The LaSalle Speedway in LaSalle, in Illinois, is up for sale. This is an article that was posted by OneDirt.com. Get rid of the pop-ups here. Share a little bit of information that is listed in this article. The LaSalle. I feel like LaSalle is the better way to say it, so that's what I'm going to go with. The LaSalle Speedway, located in LaSalle, Illinois, I'll be corrected if I'm saying it wrong, is for sale at an asking price of $2 million. If you got $2 million, you can buy yourself a racetrack. The 156-acre facility is located 90 miles west of Chicago and 80 miles east of Davenport, Iowa. It is conveniently located just south of the I-80 and I-39 interchange. The speedway features a quarter-mile dirt oval. The famed dirt track has attracted top-level racers from across the country, including NASCAR stars Kasey Kahne, Ken Schrader, Kenny Wallace, and Tony Stewart. It has also fielded many dirt track stars such as Billy Moyer and Scott Bloomquist. Sprint car pilots who have competed at the oval include Steve Kinser and Sammy Swindell. So if you're rich and looking to buy a racetrack, you can buy LaSalle for $2 million. You can own yourself a racetrack in Illinois. The other racetrack-related news that we got this past week was very good news. Coming out of the Brownstown Speedway, the Jackson County Fair Association is pleased to announce that the fair and Jim Price have agreed to an extension of the lease for the track to run the races at Brownstown Speedway. That was posted directly on their Facebook page this past week, so that is awesome news. Very, very awesome news. I love hearing stuff like that coming out, that racetracks will continue to support racing, continue to have racing. So if you are in the area of Brownstown Speedway, you've got things to look forward to because that place ain't going anywhere. Racing will continue at Brownstown Speedway through 2020 and beyond. Penultimate segment to get to before we turn things over to you guys. The V8 Supercars had an event this past weekend at the Surfers Paradise Street Circuit in Gold Coast, Queensland. The Vodafone Gold Coast 600. They had two events going on this past weekend. And pulling those up. Wow, they had a bunch of stuff racing there this past week. Stadium Trucks, Aussie Racing Cars, Porsche Carrera Cup Australia, Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. That's what I'm looking for. And they also had the ECB Super Ute Series compete as well. That's pretty damn cool. The Supercar Series race on Saturday? Yes. Saturday was won by Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes. Shane Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander were second. Scott McLaughlin and Alex Primat. I still don't know how the hell to say that name. Primat, I'll go with. Fuck it, I don't care if I'm wrong. Was third. Cameron Waters and Michael Caruso fourth, and Scott Pye and Warren Luff rounded out the top five. Lee Holdsworth and Thomas Randall were sixth. Alex and Will Davison seventh. Tim Slade and Ash Walsh were eighth. Fabian Coulthard and Tony D'Alberto ninth, and Rick Kelly and Dale Wood rounding out the top 10 for the first of two races on the weekend for the V8 Supercars. Race number 2 was won by Shane Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander. Jamie Whincup and Craig Lowndes were second. David Reynolds and Luke Yolden third. Scott Pye and Warren Luff in fourth. And Cameron Waters and Michael Caruso running out the top five there. Lee Holdsworth and Thomas Randall were 6th. Will and Alex Davis in 7th. Anton D. Pascal and Will Brown in 8th. James Courtney and Jack Perkins 9th. And Nick Percat and Tim Blanchard rounding out the top 10 in the second event. Things are starting to wind down in their series as well. I believe they only have 2 more events left. Their next event will be in 2 weeks at the Sandown International Motor Raceway for the Penrite Oil Sandown 500. And then they'll cap things off at the Newcastle Street Circuit November 22nd through the 24th for the Coates Hire Newcastle 500. Let's see here. Pull the point standings up. I believe I know how to do that. Let you know how things are going there. Drivers. Nope, that's not the championship points. That's just a list of the drivers that are racing. I've never been to this website. Oh, there we go. Results, championship points. That would explain a lot. Things looking very good for Scott McLaughlin. He has the points lead by 463 points over Shane Van Gisbergen. Jamie Whincup is 3rd. Fabian Coulthard 4th. David Reynolds is in 5th. I don't know how they do points, but these are big point margins. Van Gisbergen is 463 behind. Whincup 769 behind. Fabian Coulthard 880 behind. David Reynolds 963 behind. Chaz Mostert is 990 behind in 6th. Cameron Waters in 7th, 1141 behind. Nick Percat is 8th, 1,276 points behind. Will Davis in 9th, 1,278 behind. And Lee Holdsworth is 10th, 1,361 points behind. Points leader, Scott McLaughlin. So, he had himself a wild weekend. He had a very big crash in qualifying. Shot himself off into the wall, driver's side first, ended up getting the car on its side, slid across the racetrack. He was completely fine. Shane was not too terribly far behind him when that happened, so he jumped out of the car and went and helped make sure Scott was all right. So a great show of sportsmanship there between the top 2 and the championship points. But he was okay. Was able to continue on throughout the weekend. Just not the way that he wanted things to not the way that he wanted things to go. That is absolutely for sure. Actually, I might have spoke too soon about that. I may have spoken prematurely on that one because he's not showing up in the results for that second race. So maybe that took him out. Oh, wait, crap. Yeah, because they were 3rd in that first race. Oh, yeah, maybe it did take him out. All right, just putting that out there. Your boy could be wrong there. I'm just trying to follow up as much as I can, as much racing information as I can get. So I apologize if I'm not perfect, but just know that I love you all. All right, the last thing that I'll cover before we jump over to you guys is that we also had a Formula One race this past week. It was the Mexican Grand Prix at the Autodromo. What's the full track name? Oh, there it is. Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City, Mexico. That race was won by Lewis Hamilton. I know, so surprising, right? Sebastian Vettel finished in 2nd. Valtteri Bottas was 3rd. Charles Leclerc in 4th. And Alex Albon rounding out the top 5 with Max Verstappen in 6th. Sergio Perez was 7th. Daniel Ricciardo 8th. And Pierre Gasly was 9th. And Nico Hulkenberg rounding out the top 10. I am sure that Lewis probably led the entire race because that's usually how Formula One goes. Okay, someone in chat just confirmed that after that big crash that Scott had, they did not race the second race. So I'm glad that I can give you that for sure. I apologize that I just spewed some random bullcrap out of my mouth without confirming it before I did. Checking out the point standings in Formula One. Lewis Hamilton currently is the points leader. He has 363 points. Valtteri Bottas is second with his 289. So quick math would tell me that is a 74-point lead. Boom. Charles Leclerc is third at 236. Sebastian Vettel fourth with 230. And Max Verstappen running out the top five at 220. Damn, that's a big drop from 5th to 6th. Pierre Gasly in 6th with 77. Carlos Sainz 7th at 76. Alex Albon 8th at 74 points. Sergio Perez 9th with 43 points. And Daniel Ricciardo is 10th with 38 points. The next race for Formula One, dude, I think is this weekend. The Formula One... I don't know how to say that word properly, so I'm just going to say it's the Formula One United States Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas this upcoming weekend. Tony Stewart is going to be doing a little demonstration in a cup car at Circuit of the Americas on Thursday, so that's kind of cool. I know that was blowing up in the news world earlier today, so that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I heard on Dave Moody's show today is that will be a 2-seater vehicle, and he'll be taking the Stewart Haas guys, the Stewart Haas Formula One guys around that place in the stock car. So that'll be pretty cool to see. And live chat is telling me that Lewis Hamilton has the opportunity to clinch the championship in COTA this weekend. So that will be something to look for as well. I lied. I do have one more thing to bring up before I toss it over to you guys. This was posted literally as soon as I went live this evening. So kind of cool to have one last story to add on to the show. 2019 All-Star Circuit of Champions Sprint Car Series champion Aaron Reutzel has landed himself a ride for this week's Vancore Texas Sprint Car Nationals happening down in Texas. That will be happening at the Texas Motor Speedway Dirt Track in Fort Worth, Texas on Thursday and Friday. It is a Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour event. Aaron Reutzel will be racing for Caleb Martin this upcoming week. The article says Caleb Martin has handpicked fellow Texan Aaron Reutzel to pilot his sprint car this week during the Tony Stewart Presents the Vancore Texas Sprint Car Nationals. Reutzel will be behind the wheel of the Martin Motorsports number 51 this Thursday and Friday when the Texas Motor Speedway Dirt Track in Fort Worth, Texas hosts the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour event. Quote, my first time to a racetrack when I was 11 or 12, my best friend's grandpa hauled Aaron's dad's car to the track, Martin said. I think it's cool that Aaron and I grew up racing together. When I was 15 years old at the track racing mini sprints, he was 10 years old racing junior sprints and restrictors. He'd ride behind me on the four-wheelers and do wheelies. When I went off to college and came back, he was in mini sprints. He went off and did the sprint cars a few years before me. We've stayed in contact, unquote. Aaron Reutzel has had a ridiculously successful season, 18 feature wins this year, and as I mentioned, the 2019 Ollie's Bargain Outlet All-Star Circuit of Champions Sprint Car Series champion. Pretty awesome weekend happening down in Texas, so if you're going to be down in Texas for the NASCAR stuff, highly recommend going over to the dirt track and checking that stuff out as well. So, should be pretty damn cool. Would not be a surprise if good old Aaron goes to victory lane there. He's had an incredible week, or incredible year, I'm sorry. He's had an incredible year and adds another event to his schedule for 2019. So, my friends, that is everything that I have to present to you here this week for our fourth episode. We do have some people in our live chat now. It was a little quiet earlier on, but we got you guys here now. So, if there is anything in the racing world that I did not cover that you would like mentioned, your time to shine is now. Whether it is something that you want to talk about on the show, questions that you have for me, what you're doing this upcoming weekend, anything and everything like that, it is all up to you, my friends. It is all up to you. Your viewer segment starts now. So let me at it. What you got here, my friends? What you got for us to present? What do your mother trucking got? Let's see here. Mod Chaser Mitch posting some stuff in here. Oh yeah, that's right. That is right. There was a little bit of controversy with this. All right. So usually I'm not much into the video sharing stuff. I've only done a couple of videos, and I usually only plan on doing stuff like that. But this is a short video, and it was also a pretty crazy ass finish. So we'll use this as the rare video sharing moment on the show. This is a clip of the finish from Seekonk Speedway this past weekend, the Haunted 100 event. We'll pull this up. I didn't tell you to start playing. I just enlarged it, damn it. I just enlarged it. Pretty crazy stuff here. Watch this shit. Bump. Bump. Wait for it. Wait for it. I think this is on the backstretch. Is where the camera's at. Drives it in there, gets a little aggressive. Little door contact, nothing too serious. But not to the red car. He takes his ass out. And it's chaos. I didn't think it was that bad of a move. I really didn't think it was that bad of a move. I mean, that was an aggressive move. The dude drove it in there, made some contact, but he didn't take him out. So, I don't think it was that bad. We got an article to back this up and give some information on it. At least a little bit. Oh my God, this is a huge article. I'm not reading this whole article, but we'll get in a few words about this. So, the top two there, the red car was Matt Hirschman, as I figured. I figured that, but I didn't want to say it and be wrong. The guy that he wrecked was Ron Silk. This is coming from an article from RacedayCT.com. As the laps clicked off towards the finish of the Tri-Track Open Modified Series Haunted 100 Saturday at Seekonk Speedway, a steady stream of cars rolled toward the back of the facility where the Feartown Haunted House had opened its gates for the night. But nothing anybody was seeing at the Haunted House could live up to the horrors Ron Silk will have when he thinks about the last lap of Saturday's Tri-Track feature at Seekonk. After getting passed by Silk for the lead in Turn 1 on the final lap, Matt Hirschman drove through the grass in Turn 3 and came back out onto the track and intentionally drove into the side of Silk's car, setting off chaos at the front of the field, which you just saw. Hirschman's wild attack spun Silk from the lead and collected third place Matt Swanson and fifth place running Ronnie Williams. Hirschman rolled out of the pileup of leading cars to take the checkered flag first, but was immediately disqualified by series officials. Great idea. I love that. Quote, I think he's an asshole, unquote, Silk said of Hirschman. Quote, I understand it's the last lap. Listen, obviously he's a really good racer, but what he did today was ridiculous, unquote. Said Hirschman, quote, I thought he drove in there and basically drove through me in Turn 1, and in return, I drove through him. If I look at it and see it differently, I'll own it or whatever if it was. At the time, he caught me by surprise that he was in and bounced into me. You have a few split seconds to make a decision or take action or whatever. Yeah, I drove right through him and cleaned him out. I'll take a look at it. At the time, I thought, you drive through me, I'll drive through you. But if he was in and then that's not the case or whatever, it was my bad, unquote. Well, I think saying it was your bad ain't gonna put him in victory lane like you should be, driver. Just putting it out there. Chase Dowling, who was running fourth down the backstretch on the final lap, but ultimately crossed the finish line second behind Hirschman, was declared the winner of the event. Quote, not a way you want to win, said Dowling. Silk and Hirschman obviously put a clinic on tonight. We were right behind them, and you had to be in that position to be there, unquote. Keith Rocco of Wallingford was second, and Andy Jankowiak of Tonawanda, New York, was third. Williams limped his damaged car across the start-finish line backwards and was credited with a 20th place finish, which clinched his first series title. Wow, he was still a champion after that. Damn. Silk was credited with a 21st place finish. Hirschman of Northampton, PA was disqualified from the final running order. Okay, we were aware of that. So yeah, so some crazy shit going down at Seekonk Speedway for the Haunted 100. Ron Silk or Ronnie Silk? Let me go back. Ron Silk, okay. Ron Silk got a little aggressive. Did some door bang with Matt Hirschman. Come back around to 3 and 4, and Hirschman just cleans his ass out. Based off of what I saw, yeah, that was an aggressive move. But Ron didn't wreck him, so that's all fair game to me. I thought that was a fair move. Hirschman just had a salty attitude about it and cleaned him out afterwards. So, kind of lame. Let's see here. Another Race Day CT article. Moving out, local racing icon Brad LaFontaine selling Northeast race cars and parts. Seekonk Speedway was the track where racing became a passion for Brad LaFontaine as a child, and it was the track he built his first race car to run in 1977. Saturday at the historic facility in Seekonk, Massachusetts, LaFontaine's career in racing came full circle. LaFontaine's business, Northeast Race Cars and Parts, has become an institution of the Northeast short track racing scene. Saturday, LaFontaine worked his final race as the owner of Northeast Race Cars and Parts at Saturday's Haunted 100 at Seekonk Speedway. LaFontaine told Race Day CT exclusively that he is selling the business he began in 1992 to longtime local racing crew member Shane Hopkins. LaFontaine, who has kept the transaction mostly under wraps, said the sales expected to be finalized by November 1st. The 65-year-old LaFontaine was manning his familiar Northeast Race Cars and Parts mobile retail trailer Saturday at Seekonk. Quote, "It's kind of fitting, I guess," LaFontaine said of working his last race as the owner of the business at Seekonk. "I started here and I'm ending here. I've got mixed feelings about getting out of the business and all that, but the time comes and you have to make a decision. I've got other things going on. I've got an auto recycling yard. I've got a big snow plowing business. I've got apartment houses. I've got a lot of stuff going on all the time, so it makes it tough. The stuff here, you've got to watch it. You've got to be around," unquote. LaFontaine, who is renowned locally as a car builder and former NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour crew chief, will be inducted into the near New England Auto Racing Hall of Fame on November 10th. Quote, "Started at Seekonk Speedway when I was a little kid," LaFontaine said. "I built my first car at Seekonk Speedway when I was 16 years old. After that, I started an auto recycling yard in 1977, and I got out of racing for a few years. Then somebody I was sponsoring gave me tickets to the Seekonk banquet, and next thing you know, I'm at the bar telling everybody I'm going to build a car. I came back in 1979, and I've been in it since," unquote. LaFontaine said he will continue to help customers in the chassis repair side of his business. So some pretty big news there in that portion of the world, or of the racing world. A longtime successful business owner selling his business, clearly a very successful business, being open as long as he has. And that's a lot of crap that he does, man. That's a busy dude. Recycling yard, apartments, snow plowing business, like, damn. No wonder why he's trying to get out of something. He's a busy dude. So congrats to him. That's a lot of stuff. That's really a lot of stuff. Matt Hirschman did release a statement apologizing for the incident on Sunday, as he should. That's good to know. As he absolutely should have issued an apology, because that was a little freaking ridiculous. One of my favorite racetracks that I have never been to before competed over this past weekend. That would be the Marshalltown Speedway. This posted by Wild Child R19. Out sort of kind of in that area. The 13th Annual World Nationals at the Marshalltown Speedway went down. I have seen a bunch of highlights from Marshalltown Speedway on Facebook, because they have like just about everything they run there broadcasted on SpeedShift TV. That place is freaking insane. Oh my god, it's so good. Do yourself a favor and look up racing at Marshalltown. It's phenomenal. That place is absolutely on my bucket list of racetracks to go to. So let's see. We've got some results posted from this event. We've got IMCA Hobby Stock, IMCA Sport Mod, IMCA Stock Car, and IMCA Modified events. As you can tell, IMCA has a big presence at Marshalltown Speedway. IMCA, oh, this is perfect. They're all top 10s. Or at least they post top 10s, and then I can click for more. But that's perfect. I always do top 10s, so this is great. 20-lap IMCA Hobby Stock feature on Saturday. Yes, on Saturday night. Went to Caden Reynolds. Jason Fusselman was second. Oh my God. Micah Hiddlebaugh was third. Cody Williams fourth. And Austin Mayman in fifth. I'm so sorry. Kurt Reed was sixth. Eric Knutson seventh. Solomon Bennett eighth. Josh Van Cannon in ninth. And Jamie Cody rounding out the top 10 for the IMCA Hobby Stock feature. IMCA Sport Mod feature. Each of these two were 20-lap feature events. This one took 14 minutes and 6 seconds to complete. Cody Thompson picked up the victory there with Kyle Olson in second, Brendan Schmidt third, Tony Olson fourth, and Austin Kaplan in fifth. Jonathan Logue in sixth. Austin Schrage in seventh. Jason Roth eighth, Tyler Inman ninth, and Travis Peterson rounding out the top 10. You know, it's really damn hard to do race results from places that you don't know, names that you can't hear, and you're just making stuff up. So don't make fun of me. Don't make fun of me. I'm doing what I can. Another 20-lap feature event for the IMCA stock cars. This one was a 10-minute, 45-second feature event. That would have went to Damon Murdy. That might have been the one that I watched on Facebook. And if it was freaking awesome. Oh, gosh, this is going to be bad. Josh Rogzowski. Let's do that. Finished in second. Third was Elijah Zevenbergen. Fourth was Jeremy Christians. Fifth, Todd Reitzler. Sixth was Jeff Mueller. Seventh was Johnny Spaw. Eighth, Trent Nolan. Jason Cummins was ninth. And Troy Jerovitz running out the top 10 in the IMCA stock car feature. And IMCA Modifieds. That was a 50-lapper that has no time attached to it. So I don't know how long it took. But it was a 50-lapper. And it was won by Jordan Grabowski. Second was Joel Rust. Third went to Richie Gustin. Caden Carter was fourth, and Jeff Akey finished in fifth. Benji Lacrosse in sixth. Brandon Beckendorf in seventh. Michael Long eighth. Kenny Schrader came home in ninth, and Mike Mullen rounded out the top 10. We have a Mike Mullen here in New York. He races Mod Lights. Pretty sure it's not the same one because this Mike Mullen's from Seymour, Wisconsin, and drives number 99. So, two Mike Mullens in the racing world. Boom. All right. Well, I don't have a clickable link there, but I do have one that I can highlight. No. Go away. Hokale dokale. So, also going on in the Midwest portion of the country was the National Short Track Championship at Rockford Speedway. This was, let's see, a 250-lap event. That's awesome. National Short Track Championship 250 for Superlates. Superlates, okay, cool. So, the 54th Annual National Short Track Championships at Rockford Speedway, 250 laps for super late models, blah, 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 big article. Great. All I care about are the results. Winner of that event was Casey Johnson. Casey Johnson picking up the victory. What did it say here? Johnson took the lead on lap 138, just in time for the lap 150 fuel break for fuel, tires, and setup changes. Oh, okay, so that would explain it. I saw the race monitor results from this event, and I knew that it was a 250 lapper, but it had only showed that there was 150 laps completed. So I'm like, is this one of those like Valley Star Credit Union 300 weird things? No. So they have a break on lap 150 for fuel, tires, and setup changes. While that break was going on, it rained and the race rained out. So that's why it was only a 150 lap race instead of 250. So Casey Johnson picked up the victory there. Brad Mueller second, Austin Nason third, Steve Apple fourth, Jacob Guile in fifth, Michael Bilderback sixth, James Swan seventh, John Reynolds Jr. in eighth, Josh Wallace ninth, and Tim Lampman rounding out the top 10. Looks like there were 22 cars that competed in that event. Rain shortened is a bummer, but I don't think Casey Johnson cares. A win is a win is a win in my book, and that is exactly how I look at it in other ways. There was a clickable link right underneath of that. Well, I did it anyway. K&N West results we did talk about towards the beginning portion of the show. The Jennerstown Speedway news. I think we touched that a couple weeks ago. But if not, the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is going to Jennerstown Speedway in Pennsylvania in 2020. That will be held on May 23rd, 2020. Jennerstown is a place that I had kind of informed myself of a little bit throughout this year because they run enduro races. So I threw them on like my big master enduro racing plan. Didn't end up getting out there at all for any enduro races, but this gives me an opportunity to. Jennerstown's really not all that far away from me. It seems like a super awesome place. So depending on how things go next year, I've got it marked down. I've absolutely got this marked down. And to be completely fair, I'm pretty sure I've never seen a NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour race before. So this would be a first if I decided to go do that. Again, lots of time between now and then. I'm hoping to start racing it myself again next year. So you never know what can happen and what the future has in store. But I might not be a Saturday racer anyway, so maybe I just become a Friday racer. Who knows? So I'm pretty sure that's a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday, May 23rd, 2020. The NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour coming to Jennerstown Speedway in Pennsylvania. So that'll be pretty cool. All right. We got another one here. Oh, yeah. The tire test, since we're talking about modifieds. And in 2020, NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour is going to go to Iowa next year. There was a tire test that went down this past weekend, or this past week, I should say, at Iowa. That was done by Doug Coby. He, let's see here. What does this article say? The build-up to the 2020 racing season got underway today at Iowa Speedway. Doug Coby officially ushered in the modified era when the newly crowned NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion took his first laps at the fastest short track on the planet. Coby was on hand to gather data in preparation for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour Iowa 150 slated for July 31st, 2020. Next year will mark 15 years of racing at Iowa Speedway, and for the first time, NASCAR's oldest running division and only open-wheel class will venture this far west. Central Iowa race fans got their first glimpse of a NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour car in action at Iowa Speedway. Quote, "Luckily, I got the call to be the first driver in a NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour car here at Iowa Speedway," said Coby. "It's a great honor, number one, and it's definitely going to be something that's going to be exciting for not only our teams, but the loyal Modified fans from the Northeast," unquote. Coby recently won his sixth NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour title in the past 8 years, breaking a tie with Tony Hirschman for second on the all-time championships list, trailing only NASCAR icon Mike Stefanik for series crowns in the modern era. The modern era of the Whelen Modified Tour started in 1985. However, the first recorded NASCAR Modified race was held in 1948 on the sands of Daytona Beach and won by Red Byron, who eventually was crowned NASCAR's first champion. Another quote from Coby from that quote, "I think the fans in Iowa are in for a treat to see the style of racing we put on at some of the great tracks in the Northeast. This racetrack is so wide and has so many grooves. I think it's going to be a great show, and I'm excited to come back," unquote. I absolutely agree with that. Iowa is an extremely racy, an extremely competitive, and an extremely fun racetrack. NASCAR races there, IndyCar races there, now we're going to have NASCAR Modifieds going there too. So that should be pretty damn cool. Got a ways to wait, but it's going to happen. So that should be pretty cool to check out in 2020. All right, final thing that we'll touch here for your viewer segment. You guys did much better this week than you did last week. I will give you credit here. Arrowschmidt-Peterson news from the IndyCar Series, now teaming with McLaren. Okay, I had seen this earlier. I didn't really know exactly what it was. This is just some weird little... It ain't even loading. Is that all that it is? Is that literally all that it is? Is it just a weird little graphic? Well, that doesn't give me a whole bunch of information to talk about. Arrowschmidt-Peterson Motorsports teaming up with McLaren for IndyCar. Great. I can't even go into details. Way to go, Arrowschmidt-Peterson Motorsports Facebook page. You let me down. That's okay. I don't know who they worked with before, but news out of the IndyCar series, so that's cool. Cool to get news for another racing series during the off season. I don't really know where else to take that. There was no article posted, so I don't have any information. They just had a little weird graphic and said like, "Oh yeah, we're doing this." Boom. So there you go. But either way, pretty cool to hear about that. More news regarding IndyCar. Nothing wrong with that. Of course, Turkey Derby time, man. Turkey Derby's getting close. So we're a month away from tomorrow is Turkey Derby. I don't know how to read Roman numerals, so I don't know exactly what Turkey Derby this is. But Turkey Derby, it's the big year-end event for Wall Stadium Speedway in Wall Township, New Jersey, going on starting the day after Thanksgiving. I definitely have every intention of making this my last race or my last racing event of the year, mainly because the East Coast Indoor Dirt Nationals that they usually do in December, they've moved it to February for 2020, so there's technically not going to be a race in 2019. It's moved to the beginning of 2020. So that's going to be how I wrap up my year, hopefully. I've got a month to plan, so that's good. $100 for all 3 days to get in. Oh wait, no, that's Pit Pass. So they're selling 3-day Pit Passes, but they won't sell 3-day Grandstand? What sense? Oh wait, right here, bundle and save. Superfan all 3 days. $55 for 3 days of racing? Dude, that's awesome. That's a great freaking deal. I paid single admission prices like that. All right, no, let's be real, I really haven't. But if you take that 55 divided by 3, that is $18.33 a day. That's freaking awesome. And why is it so awesome? Listen to the schedule. All right, this is why it's awesome. First day. For features, anyway, like who cares about anything that's going on that aren't features, right? It's just qualifying and practice. First day, you have a 50-lap Sportsman feature, 50-lap limited late model feature, 40-lap factory stock feature, and a 40-lap 4-cylinder. So let's see. That is 180 laps of feature racing. Saturday, you've got a 30-lap ATQ MRA TQ Midget feature, 30-lap Legends Car feature, a 150-lap Tour Type Modified feature, 50-lap Dirt Modified feature, and a 100-lap SK/Wall Modified feature. So day number 2, that's 60, 250, 310, 360 laps of feature racing on Saturday. And then on Sunday, There's a 40-lap Legends feature, 50-lap factory stock feature, which factory stocks at Wall Stadium are freaking awesome. 25-lap Dirt Outlaw stock. What the hell? Stock. 50-lap 4-cylinder and a 25-lap Dirt Sportsman feature, plus a 4-cylinder and an 8-cylinder Demolition Derby. So that's 90, 140, 190 laps of feature racing on Sunday. So that's a lot of freaking racing for $55. Dude, freaking take that. What racing are you going to be able to do in the Northeast besides that? All right, I can give you one answer, and that would be the Gobbler at Accord Speedway, which usually ends up canceling because of the weather. That event usually doesn't have issues not running. At least I don't think. Don't quote me on it, but that will absolutely be how I end my year, and I'm really happy that they're doing it when they are, because the last day is in December, so I have like a consecutive month race chasing thing going on. I think it goes back to like January of either January or February 2017. I have to go back and check, but it will be the one and only race that I hit up in December this year. But it counts, so my streak is alive. Sunday, December 1st will probably be my very last race of the day, or of the year, which means that I'm going to have to find a way to go a little over a month without going to a race, which is not good. If you know me, that's not good. I've been to 104 races this year, and the longest I've gone is maybe a week, 10 days. This isn't good. I don't like the off-season. I do not approve of the off-season. Yeah, fantastic deal. Absolutely fantastic deal. Definitely take that if you are in the area and go watch some racing the day after Thanksgiving. So, all right, that is that'll be it for our reviewer segment tonight. You guys posted up some great stuff to talk about, so thank you for that. My upcoming week ahead, I kind of have to see how my financial situation is, because next week is the World Finals. I am going to the World Finals. So I need to get my money together, and I've got bills and stuff. I got a life. I got things to take care of. So there is a possibility that I will not do any race chasing this upcoming week. But if I end up with money and I can do this, my current race chasing plans for this weekend, on Friday, will see me go to Georgetown Speedway for the first day of the Mid-Atlantic Championship weekend. Saturday, I will make a 7-hour drive from Georgetown, Delaware, to Seekonk, Massachusetts, for the Nutcracker Thrill Show at Seekonk Speedway, my first ever visit there. Again, all subject to change due to funding availability. And then Sunday, Bethel Motor Speedway has a 2-day show going on this weekend. I will be there, hopefully be there for the the second day of that on Sunday. They're running a 100-lap enduro, which has my attention, so that's why I want to go. Bethel Motor Speedway is located in White Lake, New York, which is like the southeast portion of the state. So that will be an extremely expensive weekend for me, so I have no idea if I'm going to be able to do that or not. But that's my current plan. I have a whole week to make money. I've got bills I got to pay, and I have to think about the World of Outlaws World Finals. Plus, I'm kind of hoping that I'll go to Homestead this year for the NASCAR Championship. So, and if that's the case, my original plan is to just stay in North Carolina, drive down to my friend's house in Jacksonville, stay there for a few days, and then go to Miami. So I need a lot of money in a short period of time to make all this happen. So there is a very real possibility that I won't do anything this weekend, just so I can work. We set our clocks back this weekend, so that means all the bars are going to stay open for an extra hour, which means more opportunities for me to make more money on Saturday night. So no idea if I will or will not be race chasing this weekend, but that is the initial plan. We'll see how it all goes, and of course I'll let you know what happens. On next week's show, and of course, I'll be posting in the Facebook group. So if I have a set in stone decision, I will absolutely let you guys know. The weather that I was looking at doesn't make me think positively about Georgetown for Friday. So maybe the weather will make up my mind anyway. But it'll definitely be a hell of a lot cheaper if that does rain out. I've already hit my 100 races for the year, so I'm happy about that. I just want to, obviously I want to hit as many as I can, especially at this time of the year. So, but we'll see. We'll see how everything goes. Depending on the World of Outlaws Homestead trip, there's a possibility that Monday in between there won't be a show. Again, that's 2 weeks from now, so lots of time to pass to figure all that stuff out. But, of course, I'll be sure to let you guys know what's going on and what you can expect out of me and for the show. So that's where we'll wrap things up. Again, the plan, not set in stone plan, could possibly / probably will end up changing. Mid-Atlantic Championship Weekend, day number 1 on Friday at Georgetown Speedway in Georgetown, Delaware. The Nutcracker Thrill Show at Seekonk Speedway in Seekonk, Massachusetts on Saturday. And the second day, I don't know what the event is, I just have it marked down as Enduro 100 because there's an Enduro going on. But the second day of this big weekend show that's going on at Bethel Motor Speedway in White Lake, New York on Sunday. I have a mission for all of you out there that are watching the show either live or on YouTube. Next Monday, I have the great opportunity to celebrate my 24th birthday with you on this show. That's right, my birthday falls on a Monday this year, and I still plan on being here for it. So, if you want to give me a birthday present next Monday, get your friends, your family, your strangers, your neighbors, anybody that you can think of. Get them into this show next Monday night. Let's have the biggest crowd we have had for a live show on Monday. Put the word out there, folks. Let's celebrate my birthday in style. Let's get a whole bunch of people in here to talk about racing next Monday night. Should be fun. Should be a great week to talk about. We've got NASCAR going to Texas for the Xfinity Series and the Cup Series. Formula One Grand Prix, United States Grand Prix at COTA. There was that ASCS race that's going on in Texas this weekend. Probably a bunch of other stuff that I can't think of off the top of my head, but just going off of some of the things that we were talking about. Some things that you can look forward to for the week ahead. So do your research. Figure out if there's any racing going on in your local area and get yourself out to the racetrack. With the things that I might do, Mid-Atlantic Championship Weekend at Georgetown Speedway. Georgetown Speedway is a phenomenal racetrack, phenomenal venue. Lots of racing going to be had there this weekend. Make sure you get out to there if you're in the area and can make that happen. You will not regret it. Georgetown is one of my favorite places to travel to, so that's why I really want to go. I don't really think there's anything major going on in the world of New York or world in New York here, which is why I'm traveling. Other than that race that I know that's going on at Bethel. But do what you got to do. Get out to your local racetrack. Support it. The season's winding down. The weather might not be the most enjoyable, but bundle up and get your booty to the racetrack. You won't regret it. You know you won't regret it. And if somehow you do regret it, you messed up. That's your fault, not mine. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're watching live, thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, live chatters, I'm going to give you guys a Facebook group in the chat. YouTubers, you guys will have it in the description. Make sure that you guys check that stuff out. I spelled YouTube wrong, so that's why it didn't pop up. Facebook group. Join the Facebook group so that way you can discuss racing with us. Leave me feedback on the show. Mention things that are going on in the racing world. Any in general racing discussion is going on in there. We've had a lot of awesome discussion over these last couple of weeks. Guys posting good articles, things that we're bringing onto the show to talk about. So make sure you throw yourself in there. The YouTube channel, we upload all of these shows live, or well, not live. I do them live and then upload them to the YouTube channel on Tuesdays. So if you're not here for the live show, you can check it out and catch up on any part of the show that you may have missed, the whole show, whatever. So make sure that you do that as well. And remember to come back here next Monday night, 8 p.m., Monday, November 4th. It's my birthday! I'm going to celebrate my birthday talking racing with you guys. So make sure that you come on out and we'll have some fun. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. Spread the word. Help us grow this thing. I know we're getting down to the late portions of the racing season, so it can be tough to find things to talk about and get people attracted with this, but we're not going anywhere. I don't plan on going anywhere. It's only going to grow from here, I promise. So do your part, help us grow, and help us make this even more amazing than what it already is. Thank you guys for your support. I hope you have a great week. Get your ass to a racetrack if you can, and we will see you right back here next Monday night for episode number 5 of the Chasing the Racing podcast. Have a good night, have a good week, have a good weekend, and go enjoy some racing. We'll see you on Monday.